For centuries, humanity had walked the stars quietly, exploring, trading, and observing without seeking conquest, extending hands of cooperation to neighboring systems and alien civilizations who often responded with suspicion or outright hostility. Yet humanity persisted, guided by principles of diplomacy, ethics, and curiosity, believing that the greatest victories came not from destruction but from understanding. And in the early days of interstellar contact, many galactic powers had written, "Off-Earth is a minor player, a planet rich in potential but technologically unrefined. Its fleet small, its influence negligible." Yet beneath the surface of these peaceful overtures, humans were preparing for a contingency that others refused to believe could exist, developing fleets capable of faster-than-light maneuvers, weapon systems that could disable entire stations without planetary collateral damage, and defensive technologies that allowed their colonies to survive assault from far. Superior forces. And still, humanity walked in peace, establishing trade agreements, sharing knowledge selectively, and helping weaker civilizations fend off aggressive neighbors, often mediating disputes that might otherwise have escalated into regional wars, all the while maintaining a global council that coordinated scientific research, diplomatic missions, and the defense of human interests. The political structure fragile yet adaptive, allowing humans to respond to crises with precision, unmatched by alien bureaucracies. But then came the initial provocations, subtle at first, fleets crossing borders without permission, sensor arrays disrupted, attempt to coerce humans into unfavorable treaties, all intended to test the patience and resolve of a species the aggressors assumed would cower or negotiate under pressure. Yet humanity observed, catalogued, and analyzed every movement, every signal, and every communication leak, understanding that restraint could be a weapon more powerful than any missile. And as tensions built, reports began coming in from outer colonies, detailing skirmishes where alien patrols had fired first, claiming human installations were trespassing or violating ancient galactic statutes, each incident minor in isolation, but collectively forming a pattern that human leaders recognized as deliberate provocation, a gambit designed to force conflict on Earth's terms. Yet they did not respond rashly, instead issuing warnings, diplomatic messages, and strategically repositioning fleets to demonstrate readiness without initiating hostilities, emphasizing that humanity's first choice had always been peace, yet warning that this patience was not infinite. And then came the pivotal day when the aggressive fleets, assuming that humanity's restraint signaled weakness, crossed critical borders, deploying weapons in populated sectors and demanding surrender of key human installations under threat of annihilation. And it was in that moment, as diplomats frantically attempted last-minute negotiations, that humanity's hidden strength revealed itself. Fleets that had been concealed in distant sectors, beyond any alien sensors, simultaneously activated cloaking protocols and engaged in rapid deployment maneuvers, striking with precision against command ships, disabling communications, and rendering the alien offensive utterly ineffective before it could even begin. Orbital defenses fired in tandem, creating energy shields that protected human colonies without causing unnecessary destruction, while countermeasures intercepted missiles and energy beams, redirecting or neutralizing them in ways that alien commanders could not comprehend. And on the planetary surface, human engineers, scientists, and military personnel coordinated the defense of critical infrastructure with flawless timing. The result, a staggering display of coordination, ingenuity, and adaptability, while alien fleets scrambled, confused by the sudden effectiveness and resilience of a species they had dismissed, and as human pilots executed maneuvers previously thought impossible, striking at weak points and formations and deploying drones that outflanked and disabled enemy vessels. The first wave of assault was crushed without significant human losses, sending shockwaves through galactic intelligence networks, forcing other powers to reconsider long-held assumptions about human capability. And in the midst of these battles, humanity also demonstrated strategic mercy, rescuing civilians of hostile species caught in the crossfire, providing aid to those willing to cooperate, and simultaneously neutralizing the aggressor's ability to retaliate without unnecessary destruction, each action reinforcing the narrative that humans did not wage war for conquest but for defense and protection of life. Yet in doing so, they revealed a level of technological advancement, tactical genius, and collective resolve that left the galaxy stunned. The aggressors' command structures failing under the pressure of an enemy they had consistently underestimated, and as news of decisive human victory spread from system to system, previously neutral or timid civilizations began reaching out to Earth, requesting alliances, technology sharing, and protection, while former aggressors sought negotiations under terms dictated entirely by humanity. And as the final phases of the conflict unfolded, humans executed operations that dismantled the remaining hostile fleets, reclaimed occupied sectors, and established clear lines of defense and influence, all while maintaining cohesion, discipline, and a moral framework that emphasized justice, balance, and the preservation of life whenever possible, demonstrating that true power lay not in mindless aggression but in the ability to act decisively, intelligently, and with foresight. And when the last alien vessels retreated or surrendered, the galaxy was forced to acknowledge a simple truth that had been ignored for centuries. Humanity had not sought war. Humanity had been forced into it, and humanity had won completely, reshaping interstellar politics, establishing a precedent for diplomacy backed by undeniable strength, and sending a clear warning to any who might underestimate Earth in the future that the humans who once walked peacefully among the stars could, when necessary, rise as a force capable of altering the balance of power across the galaxy, a species whose ingenuity, adaptability, and determination made them not only survivors but masters of their destiny. And as humans began the painstaking work of rebuilding, fortifying, and expanding their alliances, the story of their struggle and ultimate victory became a testament to resilience, strategic brilliance, and the enduring principle that peace, while preferred, must always be protected by readiness and the willingness to act decisively when provoked. Following their first overwhelming victories, humanity did not rest, understanding that true security required not only defeating immediate threats, but also reshaping the balance of power across multiple sectors. And so human fleets moved with precision, simultaneously reinforcing border systems, establishing defensive outposts in strategically crucial star clusters, and deploying reconnaissance units into previously uncharted regions to gather intelligence on potential adversaries, all while continuing to broadcast clear messages to the galactic community that Earth's intentions were rooted in protection and stability rather than conquest. Yet these communications were underpinned by undeniable demonstrations of technological superiority and tactical genius, from cloaked strike vessels capable of disabling entire enemy armadas before a single countermeasure could be activated, to adaptive AI networks that coordinated fleets across thousands of kilometers in real time, anticipating enemy maneuvers and exploiting even the smallest flaws in formation, while on the ground, human engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to repair damage, construct advanced defense grids, and optimize resource distribution so that colonies could remain self-sufficient and resilient even if isolated temporarily, and as the Verithians and other aggressive powers reeled from their initial humiliation. Scrambling to comprehend the scale and efficiency of human operations, humanity's diplomats engaged in simultaneous negotiations with neutral and allied species, building coalitions that further isolated the aggressors and created channel for information sharing, logistical support, and coordinated defense, while cultural emissaries ensured that myths of human pacifism and intelligence reinforced both the deterrence value and moral authority of Earth's actions. And as months passed, humans initiated targeted campaigns to liberate occupied systems, deploying specialized teams that combined elite ground forces, orbital support, and precision strikes to neutralize hostile garrisons with minimal collateral damage, each operation meticulously timed and executed to preserve civilian populations while dismantling enemy infrastructure, demonstrating a blend of ruthlessness against aggressors and compassion for the innocent. And as these campaigns unfolded, the alien powers began to realize that their assumptions had been catastrophically flawed. Humanity's unity, adaptability, and strategic patience made them unpredictable and unstoppable in ways previously unimaginable, forcing rival councils to reassess long-held doctrines, abandoning centuries of overconfidence in favor of emergency contingencies, while human intelligence operatives infiltrated communications networks, disseminating disinformation that exaggerated human capabilities even further, sowing panic, mistrust, and miscalculations within enemy ranks, all while preparing the next stage of operations, which involved not merely defending human systems, but projecting power into the heart of contested regions to secure trade routes, rescue oppressed civilizations, and prevent future aggression before it could gain momentum. And in this phase, humanity unveiled technologies that had been kept deliberately hidden, such as gravity-warping propulsion that allowed rapid deployment of entire fleets across vast distances, energy shielding capable of withstanding sustained bombardments from multiple directions, and communication networks that render conventional jamming or interference ineffective, creating a level of operational cohesion that left alien commanders paralyzed, unsure how to respond, while human strategists adapted in real time, learning from each engagement, refining tactics, and ensuring that no pattern could be exploited, and simultaneously, humanitarian missions were executed with the same precision, delivering aid, evacuating civilians from war zones, and offering protection to those who had suffered under alien oppression, further cementing humanity's reputation as a power that combined strength with justice. And as the campaign progressed, the cumulative effect of these victories began to alter the political landscape of the galaxy. Previously neutral species approached Earth seeking alliances, trade agreements, and defense pacts, while alien aggressors found their previous allies withdrawing support, unwilling to risk retaliation from a species that had proven both morally resolute and militarily superior, and with every battle, operation, and diplomatic maneuver, humans demonstrated that their approach to war was not driven by vengeance or conquest, but by a clear strategic philosophy. Peace could only be maintained when power was matched by responsibility, when preparation met ethics, and when the consequences of aggression were made unmistakably clear. And as these lessons rippled outward, even the Verithians, once arrogant and dismissive, were forced to acknowledge that humanity's combination of patience, intelligence, and capability rendered them a central force in galactic affairs, not simply survivors of a conflict they had been forced into, but decisive shapers of a new order where aggression was met with precision, and cowardice, opportunism, or underestimation could no longer prevail. And as human fleets continued to advance, liberating planets, securing trade networks, and neutralizing the remaining hostile elements with efficiency and minimal loss, the message became clear across every sector of space. Earth would not be bullied, peace would not be taken for granted, and those who forced war upon humanity would discover that patience walked hand in hand with overwhelming power, a lesson that would resonate for generations and permanently redefine the balance of the stars, securing not only the survival of humanity, but establishing a framework for interstellar relations rooted in respect, deterrence, and the undeniable demonstration that humans, when provoked, could overcome any enemy, safeguard every ally, and achieve complete and decisive victory without sacrificing the principles that had guided them through centuries of peaceful exploration and cautious engagement. And as the last enemy remnants retreated or surrendered, humanity's leaders understood that the war was not an anomaly but a validation of their approach, a demonstration that true strength was measured not by the will to destroy but by the ability to defend, respond, and prevail with integrity. And so the stars that had once belonged to alien empires now recognized a new reality. Humanity had walked in peace, had been forced into war, and had won completely, forever altering the perception of what a single species, united by purpose, ingenuity, and resolve, could accomplish across the galaxy. With the immediate threat neutralized and the first wave of victories consolidating humanity's position, human forces transitioned from reactive defense to proactive operations across multiple star systems simultaneously, a feat that required flawless coordination between orbital command, fleet strategists, planetary governors, and specialized units trained for infiltration, sabotage, and precision strikes. And as the alien powers struggled to regroup, still reeling from the scale and efficiency of human operations, humanity began exploiting weaknesses in interstellar supply chains, communication networks, and fleet logistics, striking at vital points before the enemy could react, while simultaneously establishing forward bases in liberated systems that served as hubs for intelligence gathering, repair, resupply, and rapid deployment. And each human mission was planned with a level of redundancy and contingency awareness that made failure nearly impossible. Drones and automated systems providing constant surveillance and immediate response capability, while human pilots executed maneuvers that combined centuries of terrestrial combat experience with advanced spatial tactics adapted for zero-gravity, multidirectional battlefields, creating patterns of attack and defense that alien commanders could not predict. And at the same time, Earth scientists introduced technological innovations mid-conflict that rendered previously dominant alien weapons obsolete, From adaptive energy shields that absorbed and redirected plasma fire, to autonomous repair units that kept entire fleets operational under sustained assault, and human-coordinated strikes to liberate planets still under occupation, each engagement executed to minimize collateral damage, demonstrating a combination of ruthlessness against aggressors and care for civilians that further amplified their reputation. While intelligence units, often disguised as civilian traders or explorers, infiltrated enemy-controlled regions to gather data, subtly manipulate communication networks, and spread misinformation that amplify confusion and dissent among alien forces, creating a psychological pressure that weakened their cohesion even further. And as humans pressed deeper into contested territory, previously neutral civilizations began openly aligning with Earth, offering resources, intelligence, and safe harbors for fleets, while alien powers found themselves increasingly isolated, their traditional alliances fracturing under the combined pressures of human efficiency, reputation, and strategic diplomacy. And simultaneously, humanity's leaders maintained strict ethical frameworks, refusing to exploit certain weaknesses that would cause unnecessary suffering, reinforcing the idea that their war was not born of cruelty or greed but of necessity, defense, and the protection of allies. And as battles intensified, humans unveiled weapons and tactics that seemed almost preternatural to their enemies, using gravitational manipulation to trap enemy ships, phased energy pulses that disable fleets without loss of life, and coordinated strikes that simultaneously threatened multiple targets, all executed with such precision and timing that alien fleets appeared disorganized and incapable of mounting effective countermeasures, while planetary defenses under human supervision adapted dynamically to incoming threats, creating a resilient network that ensured each system could withstand assaults and continue to function as part of the broader operational structure. And in the midst of these campaigns, humanity also pursued high-value strategic objectives, dismantling central command nodes of the aggressor fleets, freeing oppressed populations, and securing critical resources and communication lines to prevent future conflicts. Each victory reinforcing perception across the galaxy that humanity's approach combined intelligence, efficiency, moral clarity, and unmatched adaptability. And as the enemy attempted desperate counteroffensives, deploying hidden fleets, ambushes, and experimental technologies, humans anticipated these moves, countering them with layered defenses, predictive simulations, and real-time strategic recalculations, each success further compounding alien disbelief and panic as their calculations, assumptions, and centuries of interstellar experience proved insufficient against a species they had long underestimated. And while the alien powers struggled to adapt, humanity began establishing permanent structures for interstellar governance, trade, and diplomacy in liberated regions, demonstrating that victory was not only military but also strategic, providing stability, security, and a model for interstellar cooperation that emphasized fairness, accountability, and mutual respect. And even as humans expanded their influence, they maintained vigilance over previously pacified systems, ensuring that no power could exploit temporary chaos to regain lost ground, all the while integrating rescued civilizations into an alliance framework that strengthened both defense and cultural exchange, creating bonds that would endure beyond the immediate conflict. And through all these operations, humanity proved repeatedly that their triumph was not a fluke or a product of luck, but the result of centuries of preparation, technological ingenuity, ethical resolve, strategic foresight, and the unique human qualities of adaptability, creativity, and determination. And as the alien powers finally began to acknowledge the extent of their miscalculation, the galaxy at large was forced to confront an unavoidable reality. Humans had walked in peace, had been provoked into war, and now, having demonstrated both restraint and overwhelming capability, had reshaped the political, technological, and military order of the stars, ensuring that any future aggression against Earth or its allies would be met with decisive and inescapable consequences. And the message echoed from system to system, a stark and unambiguous testament to the truth that the humans who once seemed meek, cooperative, and easily dismissed were now the defining force of the galaxy, a species whose unity, intellect, and moral clarity ensured not only survival but complete and irreversible victory over those who forced war upon them. And as humans looked outward from their liberated sectors toward the still contested regions, the realization was clear. The era of alien domination had ended, replaced by a new order in which humanity's influence, authority, an example would shape interstellar relations for generations, a reality that stood as proof that peace pursued with wisdom and patience, when threatened, could transform into a triumph so complete and so lasting that history itself would remember not the wars forced upon them, but the unprecedented and total victory humanity achieved through restraint, intelligence, and the unwavering will to protect life, liberty, and justice across the stars. With the major battle concluded and the immediate threats contained, humanity shifted focus toward consolidating control over liberated regions and projecting influence into formerly hostile space, establishing advanced command centers and strategic star systems that acted as both logistical hubs and symbols of human authority, while simultaneously initiating programs to repair war-torn planets, restore trade routes, and integrate rescued civilizations into a structured interstellar alliance. And as alien powers scrambled to reassert themselves, they encountered not chaos but meticulously organized human presence, fleets positioned with precision, orbital defenses capable of neutralizing attacks almost instantaneously, and communication networks that ensured every human unit operated in perfect synchrony. And as humans pressed further into contested space, they unveiled technologies that had long been held in reserve, from adaptive cloaking systems allowing entire fleets to bypass enemy sensors undetected, to planetary shield networks that could render worlds impervious to bombardment, and even experimental propulsion systems that permitted near-instantaneous redeployment across multiple sectors, creating an operational flexibility that alien strategists could not counter. And while human military operations focused on neutralizing remaining hostile elements with efficiency and minimal casualties, diplomatic and intelligence units simultaneously worked to exploit divisions among enemy factions, fomenting distrust, miscommunication, and internal conflict that further weakened resistance. And throughout all these efforts, humans maintained a strict ethical code, demonstrating that their power was exercised not recklessly but judiciously, ensuring civilian populations were protected, allies were supported, and only those who had initiated aggression faced direct consequences. And as months passed, humanity's actions began reshaping galactic perception. Neutral civilizations increasingly sought Earth protection, while alien powers once arrogant and dismissive were forced to submit to negotiations under terms dictated entirely by human leaders, who leveraged both their technological superiority and moral authority to secure lasting peace agreements, trade alliances, and defense pacts. And within this framework, humans continued to liberate planets still under occupation, executing operations that combined orbital precision strikes, ground base special forces, and rapid deployment of support units to neutralize hostile forces before they could mount effective resistance, each victory reinforcing the narrative that humanity's strength lay in intelligence, planning, adaptability, and unity rather than indiscriminate aggression. And as the final pockets of resistance crumbled, alien factions sought terms, surrendering with a recognition that humanity had not only defended itself but established a standard of interstellar governance, technological sophistication, and strategic capability that could not be challenged without catastrophic losses. And in parallel with military operations, human leaders focus on building institutions to maintain order and fairness, implementing systems for trade, cultural exchange, law, and dispute resolution that ensured liberated civilizations were integrated smoothly into the new galactic framework, further solidifying Earth's role as a stabilizing force. And as human fleets patrolled newly secured regions, they encountered remnants of enemy forces attempting desperate counterattacks, yet each was met with overwhelming precision, demonstrating that humanity's ability to adapt, predict, and coordinate remained unmatched, while the psychological impact of repeated, decisive victories induced surrender or compliance without further bloodshed. And through all of this, human society continued to exemplify unity, ethical clarity, and resilience, with leaders, diplomats, scientists, and military personnel collaborating seamlessly to manage operations, maintain morale, and ensure that every action served the broader objectives of security, stability, and long-term peace. And as alien powers finally acknowledged the magnitude of their miscalculation, the galaxy understood a new reality. The humans who had walked in peace were not only capable of defending themselves, but possessed the capacity to enforce order, protect the vulnerable, and decisively reshape interstellar dynamics, and the consequences of their restraint-turned strength were irrevocable, creating an environment where any attempt at future aggression against Earth or its allies would be met with immediate, precise, and overwhelming retaliation, ensuring that humanity's complete victory was not only military but political, technological, and moral. And as humans looked outward toward the last unconquered sectors and alien enclaves, they did so with confidence, discipline, and foresight, ready to secure final compliance and integrate these regions into a stable, cooperative galactic network, demonstrating conclusively that peace had been humanity's first choice. War had been forced upon them, and yet, through intelligence, unity, and perseverance, humanity had emerged not only victorious but supreme, a species whose combination of moral clarity, strategic brilliance, and technological mastery ensured that the stars once dominated by alien empires now recognized Earth as the central and defining power, forever altering the balance of the galaxy and proving that those who underestimated humans had gravely misjudged a species whose restraint was matched only by its unstoppable capacity for decisive and complete triumph. With the majority of hostile forces neutralized and former enemy territories firmly under human control, humanity shifted focus from immediate military operations to long-term consolidation and governance, establishing integrated command structures in liberated systems that combine civil administration, defense coordination, and diplomatic outreach, ensuring that every colony, planet, and sector transitioned smoothly from conflict to stability, and as human fleets patrolled key star routes, their presence served not only as a deterrent against future aggression, but as a visible symbol of Earth's technological, strategic, and moral superiority, while simultaneously advanced sensor networks and communication arrays allowed real-time monitoring of both former adversaries and neutral civilizations, enabling preemptive responses to threats and facilitating cooperation with allies. And in parallel, human diplomats engaged former enemy leaders under strict terms, negotiating treaties that guaranteed peace, trade rights, and protection for their populations, while making clear that any resurgence of hostility will be met with instantaneous and decisive action. And throughout this period, humanity maintained a deliberate balance between demonstrating power and offering security, reinforcing the principle that the victories achieved were not for domination but for the creation of a sustainable interstellar order. And as humans extended their influence, they also initiated programs to rebuild and modernize infrastructure on war-impacted planets, delivering advanced energy systems, medical facilities, communication networks, and education programs, thereby elevating technological standards and quality of life while fostering loyalty and stability. And while the alien powers attempted to reorganize, human strategists anticipated potential points of resistance, deploying rapid response fleets, intelligence operatives, and autonomous systems to prevent the reformation of hostile coalitions, each engagement executed with precision and minimal loss, demonstrating that humanity's superiority lay not merely in firepower but in foresight, adaptability, and ethical execution. And in the midst of these operations, humanity's reputation as both protector and enforcer grew, with liberated species actively collaborating with humans, providing intelligence, logistical support, and cultural integration, further enhancing Earth's capacity to project influence and secure lasting peace. And as months turned to years, humanity systematically restructured former enemy territories into cooperative sectors, establishing shared governance, trade networks, and defense agreements, while ensuring that former adversaries who complied were integrated into a framework that encouraged stability and interdependence rather than resentment or rebellion. And as humans projected this model of governance deeper into the galaxy, other civilizations took notice, seeking alliances, technical assistance, and participation in an interstellar order defined by justice, efficiency, and respect for life, while alien powers that had once sought to dominate or manipulate Earth now face a reality in which their prior arrogance and aggression were irrelevant against a species that had demonstrated patience, intelligence, unity, and unstoppable strategic capacity. And through all of this, humanity continued to innovate technologically, introducing advancements in faster than light travel, planetary defense, energy manipulation, and communication systems that solidify their dominance, while simultaneously training the next generation of pilots, strategists, diplomats, and scientists to ensure that human superiority was sustainable, adaptable, and morally guided. And as the final pockets of opposition either surrendered or were neutralized, the galaxy recognized a simple truth. Humanity had walked in peace, had been forced into war, and had emerged completely victorious, reshaping political, economic, and military structures across countless systems, establishing a precedent for ethical strength backed by overwhelming capability. And in the aftermath, humans did not celebrate through domination or conquest, but through the creation of a stable, cooperative, and secure galactic network in which Earth served as both leader and protector, demonstrating that true victory was measured not only by battlefield success, but by the enduring order, prosperity, and justice that followed. And as humans looked outward toward uncharted regions, exploratory fleets ventured into unknown space with confidence, allies followed willingly, and even former adversaries came to respect, and in many cases rely upon humanity's guidance, a clear testament that the species who had been underestimated, provoked, and forced into war had not only survived, but had completely reshaped the destiny of the galaxy, proving beyond doubt that restraint, intelligence, unity, and strategic brilliance could convert even the most perilous trials into a triumph so comprehensive that history, memory, and interstellar law itself would forever record humanity as a decisive force that walked in peace, was forced into war, and won completely. Having secured victory over the major hostile powers and integrated liberated systems into a coherent galactic framework, humanity turned its focus to consolidating influence, enforcing security, and establishing long-term structures for governance, diplomacy, and interstellar cooperation, with human fleets patrolling key star routes, orbital stations coordinating planetary defenses, and intelligence networks monitoring potential threats, all operating in seamless synchronization that left former adversaries unable to regain footing, while diplomatic envoys engaged neutral and allied civilizations, offering trade agreements, defense pacts, and technological sharing under terms that ensured stability, fairness, and mutual benefit. And as humans extended their presence into the heart of previously hostile territories, they demonstrated their superiority not merely through military might, but by implementing advanced infrastructure projects, rebuilding devastated worlds, and creating energy, transport, and communication systems that elevated quality of life across multiple species, thereby earning loyalty, cooperation, and trust, while simultaneously maintaining a strategic deterrence capable of responding instantly to aggression, including rapid fleet deployment, orbital defense arrays, and precision strike capabilities that neutralize threats without unnecessary destruction. And in these operations, human forces displayed adaptability, predictive tactics, and coordination that alien commanders could not counter, while AI managed logistics ensured that every mission, whether combat, reconstruction, or diplomatic, was executed efficiently and effectively. And as these systems matured, humanity began codifying interstellar law, instituting governance structures that balanced security, justice, and economic stability, creating courts, councils, and trade oversight bodies that allowed diverse civilizations to interact under predictable and fair rules, while enforcement units ensured compliance with minimal force, demonstrating that humanity's strength was exercised with wisdom and restraint. And as former aggressors observed this model, some sought voluntary integration, accepting oversight, adopting peaceful policies, and contributing to shared defense and infrastructure projects, while others submitted under the implicit understanding that resistance was futile and the humans' resolve unbreakable. And through all of this, humans demonstrated a balance between power and morality, combining the ability to project overwhelming force with a choice to employ it selectively, fostering alliances and stability rather than domination, while simultaneously advancing technological and scientific research across occupied and allied territories, sharing knowledge that enhanced energy generation, propulsion, medicine, and communication for all cooperative civilizations, creating a web of interdependence that further ensured peace. And as humans continued to expand influence across multiple sectors, they maintained vigilance, preventing rogue factions from exploiting temporary gaps, using surveillance, intelligence, and rapid deployment fleets to neutralize threats before they could escalate. And as the galaxy witnessed the scale, efficiency, and ethical framework of human operations, it became universally recognized that the era of unchecked alien dominance had ended, replaced by a new order in which humanity's combination of patience, intelligence, adaptability, and moral clarity dictated outcomes, and even civilizations previously neutral or hesitant began aligning with Earth, seeking membership in a galactic network that guaranteed security, trade, and representation, while former adversaries acknowledged that their assumptions about human weakness had been catastrophically flawed. And with each integration, Human leaders reinforced the principles that had guided them from the beginning: peace, pursued with wisdom, strength demonstrated without cruelty, and power exercised with restraint and foresight, ensuring that the galaxy understood a singular truth, that humans who had once walked in peace, forced into war, and now victorious, were not merely survivors or conquerors, but architects of a sustainable interstellar order, and as humans prepared exploratory missions into uncharted systems, continued technological advancement, and extended protective alliances even further, the reality became undeniable. Earth was no longer peripheral or underestimated. Humanity had achieved complete victory, reshaped the galaxy, established order, secured allies, neutralized threats, and demonstrated beyond doubt that restraint, unity, strategic brilliance, and ethical leadership could transform provocation into total and lasting triumph, proving to every civilization that those who forced war upon humans would face consequences both immediate and enduring, and that the species who had once been dismissed as weak or primitive had now become the defining force across the stars, a model of power tempered by wisdom and victory secured by intellect, morality, and relentless determination, ensuring that the history of the galaxy would forever record the truth that humanity had not only survived provocation, but had risen to claim unassailable dominance through precise, disciplined, and morally guided application of strength. As the final remnants of hostile fleets surrendered or were neutralized, humanity stood at the pinnacle of galactic power, having demonstrated that restraint, intelligence, and unity could transform provocation into absolute victory, and with the galaxy now recognizing Earth as a central authority capable of enforcing order, protecting allies, and deterring aggression, human leaders moved swiftly to solidify a lasting framework for peace, governance, and interstellar collaboration, establishing permanent alliances, standardized laws, trade regulations, and defense protocols that integrated liberated civilizations into a cohesive network, ensuring that no faction could exploit its ability to reignite conflict, while simultaneously deploying fleets to maintain security across contested or remote sectors. Their presence a constant reminder that humanity's reach was both protective and unassailable, and as humans implemented advanced communication networks, energy grids, and transport systems across the galaxy, they fostered unprecedented economic growth, technological exchange, and cultural interaction, turning former battlefields into hubs of prosperity, education, and innovation, all under the guidance of ethical principles that prioritize protection of life, justice, and long-term stability. And in this new era, humans continue to explore uncharted regions, charting systems beyond prior knowledge, extending protective influence, and offering cooperation to civilizations yet uncontacted, demonstrating that their victory was not a conquest born of greed or vengeance, but the establishment of an interstellar order rooted in capability, wisdom, and responsibility, while former aggressors, now fully integrated or contained, had no choice but to acknowledge the magnitude of their misjudgment, their prior arrogance rendered irrelevant by a species that had not only survived provocation, but had orchestrated a comprehensive, strategic, and ethically guided triumph. And as humanity's fleets patrolled the stars, coordinated diplomacy secured alliances, and scientific breakthroughs spread throughout allied civilizations, the galaxy adapted to the reality that Earth was no longer a peripheral observer, but the defining force shaping its destiny, a civilization whose combination of moral clarity, strategic brilliance, technological mastery, and unparalleled adaptability ensured that peace was maintained not through fear alone but through the visible, undeniable demonstration of capacity and intelligence. And as humans reflected on their journey, from centuries of quiet exploration to forced conflict to ultimate victory, they recognized that their success had been achieved through patience, preparation, collaboration, and a refusal to act recklessly, transforming a species once dismissed as primitive into the architects of galactic order. And as the stars that had once been dominated by alien empires now flourished under a framework designed, defended, and maintained by humanity, the message across every system was unequivocal. Humans had walked in peace, had been forced into war, and had won completely, securing not only their survival but a legacy of power, justice, and influence that would endure for generations, a testament to the truth that when a species combines unity, intelligence, ethical strength, and adaptability, even the greatest provocations cannot prevent them from achieving total, decisive, and lasting victory, and the galaxy had learned an indelible lesson. Humanity, once underestimated, had risen to define the order of the stars, and those who doubted, attacked, or dismissed them will forever remember that provocation against Earth carried consequences both absolute and irreversible, and in every system from the outermost colonies to the core sectors, the presence, influence, and victories of humanity stood as a permanent, undeniable force shaping the cosmos for the better, proving, once and for all, that restraint, wisdom, and unparalleled capability together could achieve a triumph that was total, complete, and historically unprecedented.